Hey, this is Angela with this week's Living the Shift. So here's the question. What is protection? And what is the purpose of it? And do we really truly need it at this point in our evolution? That word comes up so often in so many contexts. And it starts out with, when we are not even conscious, not even aware, not even on our active spiritual journey. And we're talking about, I have to protect myself from this. I have to protect myself from that. I have to put all these safeguards in and protect myself from this or from getting hurt, from getting, burglarized, from getting stolen from getting this and that and everything else. And then when we do actually get on our spiritual path, our active spiritual path, because we're always on the spiritual path, but anyway, actively conscious spiritual path, or consciously active, whatever, we get to the point of realizing, the old way of doing things, of setting up our parameters and dealing with all of the non-physical, right? So we're talking about talking to the higher self, talking to our spirit guides, connecting with the other dimensions and all that kind of stuff. And we talk about, people in the old way has been talking about setting up protection, quote unquote. So that you are not impeded on, that you are not taken advantage of, that you are not lied to, and all that kind of stuff. So the key, though, is this. All of that comes from what? The perception of the need for protection is based on fear. And fear has been based on the ego, on the ego's progress in terms of our existence of duality, of our experience of duality, and that there is a right and a wrong and a good and a bad, and there are things that we do want and things that we don't want. But more importantly so, the most important part of that is the perception that we are out of control of that which is within us, and that's that which is around us. We have done a great job at the duality thing. And when we talk about duality, I come back to this again and again, it's all about the perception of there being a me and a not me. And if we are a part of the oneness, we are a part of the oneness. And the oneness is the eternal life force of unconditional love in the most simplest form, which is the highest vibration, the most powerful thing in the universe. And it's all within us. We're all a part of it. We are all expressions of the divine, and it's all within us. And if that is the case, then there is nothing that is not us. We are just simply illusions of separation. So we're always like, you and I are the same. We're just different expressions of the divine for different purposes of the lessons that we wanted to learn by creating this existence. We're eternal beings. And I get this all the time. People saying, well, what a joke. We created all this. Like, seriously, we created all this. And we did. And in saying that, we're saying, well, guess what? In creating this, we have to take full responsibility for the whole thing. And how bizarre and crazy and whatever it can it be? And I said, well, if we're eternal, we've been here, we've always been here, we always will be here. So, let's make it fun. Let's make it challenging. Let's create games. Let's do all different kinds of things because that's what we do. So that's a pretty big concept. But it really comes down to the basics of this. When we truly step into our form, when we stand 100% in our light and we take 100% responsibility for all of our actions, all of our environment, all of what happens in our lifetimes and on our journeys, then we don't need protection. We don't even need to use the word anymore because there's nothing to protect ourselves from. You are me. And part of what drives protection, again, is fear. And part of our journey is to release fear. And as we release fear, we dissolve away the experiences that would cause it. That's sort of that vibrational, what do they call it? The law of attraction thing in physics, and like attracts like energetically. So wherever we sit and what kind of energy we emit and what level of vibration that we emit is what we're going to attract. So the higher vibration that we hold and the more we sit in unconditional love, the less, it basically becomes non-existent. Things to fear, quote unquote, because then you start seeing things in a different light. And it's all a part of our journey. It's all a part of where we're going because it's this consciousness of, well, why do I fear that? And all of the answers have to do with the physical things that we have created in this reality. So many will ask, so then does that mean I have to, so why wouldn't that mean I need to protect myself? Because as I'm living in this reality, then, I have to play in this reality. Well, that's true. But the key is this. The ego, as I've talked about a bazillion times, the ego is like that pawn on a playing board game, right? And the pawn only sees what's right in front of it, what's right behind it, what's on either side of it, what the pawns around it are doing, and it makes decisions based on that. So if it sees another pawn get kicked off or fall off the ledge or fall off a cliff, it says, oh my gosh, if we go that way, that's what we're going to do. That's what's going to happen to us. And then the anxiety starts to build and the fear starts to build, because then what happens is we start projecting. When in essence that pawn made its own decision based on whatever its reality was, whatever its journey was, whatever its decisions needed to be based on the lessons that particular pawn had wanted to set. So here's the other part of that, right? So the next step, so we look at what we call the higher selves. And the way I look at the higher self is it's the player playing at the board, looking at it, saying, okay, this is the best, most strategic way for us to get there. In whatever way we so choose. If we choose to do it with trauma, drama, and illness, we can do it that way. If we choose to do it with fun and joy and happiness and peace and balance and harmony, then we can do it that way. We are the divine, because guess what? The next step beyond that higher self playing at the board is the higher self, like what we call like the I am self, that makes the game, that creates the game and says, you know what? I don't even like this game anymore. Let's just change it. We can do that. We can do everything. We can change anything around us, and all that is going on around us reflects back to us what's going on within. And so the more we can clear out what's going on within us, the less we fear, the less we're anxious, the less we're out of the moment, because the key is being right here in the moment, because the only thing that really exists is right now. And then we can say, what is it I need to be afraid of? And the more we're in the moment, the less we're afraid of, the less then we need to worry about this protection. The word protection just puts up these barriers, right? We talk about all this kind of stuff in even in metaphysical world, like I was saying, in spiritual work, and we talk about setting up our auric fields, and people set up protections and bubbles and mirrors and all that kind of stuff. But here is the thing. The key is for us to remember we are the divine. The power does not come from outside of us. It comes from within us. We can access it ourselves. It's just it is just a situation of remembering how to, and finding the best way, most efficient way for us to do that. When we can do that, when we stop feeling like we have to pull in power from the outside, that's what protection is okay, well, I'm going to have to ask Archangel Michael to come and do this, and I'm going to set these bubbles up. But here's the thing. We are resolving duality, and in doing so, we're removing partitions between us. We are remembering our connectedness. We are remembering our oneness. We're remembering how everything is related, how we have all created this individually and collectively, and how we can change it, how we're in control of the whole playing board, the whole game. And when we realize that, then we release the need to protect ourselves. And the protection thing and the bubble perception and the mirrors and everything is then, what is it doing? It's putting more partitions between us and others. It's separating ourselves even more. When we're trying to release, we're working on releasing that feeling of separation from others around us. So when we set up like these parameters and doing, when we start learning how to, control our energy, and so that others don't drain us and everything else, the way it's often taught is the way that I teach people is to first teach how to remember how to access it from here, access our divine light, and which is all powerful from unconditional love, and then expand it and emanate it out. And when you emanate it out, you can do so in such an impervious manner that others, cannot, like it's another law of physics, things that two different vibrations together, the lowest one will raise up to meet the highest one. And many people believe they have to, let themselves get dragged down into the muck with others, but they don't. It's becoming a beacon of light. It is expanding our light. It is expanding our divinity. And in doing so, we're bringing more of that energy and that vibration here to Earth, to the 3D Earth that's still in existence. And when we do that, we can invite anybody to come into our space as long as they raise up their vibration to match ours, or we rise it up to, if they have a higher vibration to match theirs. This way, we are not, we don't have the belief and we don't have the perception of having to separate ourselves from somebody else. We also then are letting go of the perception that we are weak and others are stronger, that anything is stronger than us. We have access to that divine power, and that is eternal and infinite. So it's just a way of starting to change our perception. And so we're talking about, so that's, really the metaphysical woo-woo stuff. But when you talk about the everyday world and we start talking about things like, well, I don't go into those kind of situations because, I need to protect myself, or, I need to heavily arm myself. But here's the thing. The more that we release the fears, the more we release the resistance, the more that we change our reality around us. And so we only attract things that will match the vibration of what we emanate. And the higher the vibration that we emanate, the less that anything is going to bother us or hurt us or impede on us in any way, shape, or form. It's a matter of shifting. Again, this is what living the shift's all about, is a matter of shifting the way we think and act. Instead of doing things the same way we've always done them, it's time to look at them differently. It's time to look at them back, to the original viewpoint of looking at it from the eyes of the divine, which is what we all are. And when we do that, we can look at it from an all-powerful standpoint, and that we do control all of that, then it becomes less of an issue of separation and protection and everything else, and just changing our reality to match our needs and wants in the highest and best, most positive way. So on that, I'm going to let you go. Have a great week. This is Angela with this week's Living the Shift.